Abandoned in the snow, the princess finds solace in the attention of a human. Elira shivered as the cold wind cut through the thin fabric of her cloak. Snow swirled around her like tiny shards of glass, stinging her cheeks and hands. The sky was gray and heavy, and the world seemed empty, silent, except for the soft hiss of the wind. She tried to stand, but her legs felt weak, trembling from exhaustion and cold. Every step was a struggle. She had never felt so alone. Her ship had been attacked hours ago. Alien fighters had appeared out of nowhere, cutting through her escort with precision. She remembered the flash of lasers, the screams of soldiers, and the desperate orders to retreat. Then there was silence and the snow came down harder. She had been left behind. Her heart ached with betrayal. She had always trusted her people, the ones who called themselves her friends, her protectors. Now she wondered if anyone truly cared. Elira had wandered through the snow blindly. Each step left a mark behind her, quickly covered by the wind. She barely noticed the pain in her legs or the cold biting her fingers. She focused only on survival. She needed shelter. She needed warmth. And she needed someone, anyone, to help her. After what felt like hours, she noticed a faint glow in the distance. It was soft and steady, unlike the harsh flashes of the battle. Hope sparked in her chest. She moved toward it, dragging her feet through the thick snow, her cloak trailing behind. The glow grew stronger until she could make out the shape of a small human building, half buried in snowdrifts. Smoke rose gently from a short chimney. Someone was inside! She was not alone! Just as she reached the edge of the clearing, she stumbled and fell, her hands sinking into the icy ground. Pain shot up her arm, but she ignored it. She forced herself to her knees and crawled the last few meters. The door to the building opened slowly, and a man stepped out. He was tall, with short brown hair and sharp, careful eyes. He looked her over, startled. "Okay?" he asked, his voice steady but cautious. He wore a thick coat, gloves, and boots, but no armor. He looked ordinary, not like the soldiers she was used to. But there was something kind in his eyes, something that made her chest tighten with relief. I think so," Elira whispered, her voice trembling. "Please, help me!" The man knelt beside her, placing a firm but gentle hand on her shoulder. "Come inside, you'll freeze out here!" He smiled slightly, though there was worry in his eyes. "I'm Jack," Elira, she replied, her teeth chattering. She struggled to rise, but her strength was gone. Jack immediately lifted her, careful but strong. She wrapped her arms around him, leaning against his warmth, feeling something she had not felt in a long time. Safety. The interior of the building was small but cozy. A fire burned in a stone stove, and the warmth washed over her, making her shiver less and less. Jack guided her to a bench near the fire and gently eased her down. "Sit," he said. "I'll get you some blankets." Elira nodded, too weak to speak. Jack disappeared for a moment, then returned with several thick blankets. He wrapped them around her like a cocoon. The heat seeped into her cold skin, making her sigh softly. She closed her eyes, letting the warmth and quiet calm her racing thoughts. "You've been out in that storm for a long time," Jack said, sitting across from her. "You look like you barely made it. What happened?" Elira hesitated. Telling a human about the attack, about her people abandoning her, felt strange. She wasn't used to speaking so openly, but something about Jack made it easier. She looked into his eyes and saw no judgment, no fear, only concern. "My people," she started, her voice shaking. "We were attacked." Everyone left. I thought I was going to die." Jack nodded slowly. "You're safe now." "No one's going to hurt you here." He reached over and placed a hand near hers, not touching, just close enough for her to feel his presence.
"We'll figure something out."
"First, you need to rest and eat." He stood and returned with a small tray of food, warm bread, some stew, and a cup of water. Elira stared at it, unsure if she could eat, but hunger gnawed at her. Jack encouraged her softly, and she took a small bite. The warmth of the food spread through her body, and she felt a little stronger. "Thank you," she whispered, though her throat was dry and hoarse. Jack smiled. "Don't thank me yet. Let's get you warm and rested first, then we can worry about everything else." For the next few hours, Alira rested by the fire. She drifted in and out of sleep, comforted by Jack's presence. He didn't leave her side, checking her every so often, making sure she was warm, that she had enough to eat, that she didn't shiver too violently. Every time she woke, he was there, and that made her feel less alone than she had in days. She began to notice small details about him, the way he moved carefully around the small space, how his eyes softened when he looked at her, the quiet steadiness in his voice. It was nothing like the soldiers she was used to, who barked orders and fought for glory. Jack seemed human. Real. Kind. And slowly, she realized she was not afraid of him. As night fell, the storm outside worsened. The wind howled, and the snow battered the building. Elira pulled the blankets tighter around her shoulders and looked at Jack. "I don't know what I would have done without you," she said softly. Jack shook his head. "You would have made it! Humans are stubborn, but you're tougher than you think. Still, I'm glad I was here to help." He smiled briefly, and she felt warmth in her chest that had nothing to do with the fire. The hours passed slowly, filled with quiet moments. Elira spoke a little about her life, the distant worlds she had seen, the palace she had grown up in. Jack listened carefully, never interrupting, never judging. She shared things she had never told anyone, about her fears, her loneliness, her doubts. He shared stories, too, of his life on the frontier world, of his family back on the main colony, of the hardships humans faced in the snow and cold. Elira listened with fascination. Humans were different from her people, simpler in some ways, yet resilient in ways she had never understood. She felt a connection forming, fragile but real, built on trust and shared experience. As the storm outside raged, Elira realized something she had not expected. She felt safe. She felt cared for. And for the first time since the attack, she allowed herself to hope. Maybe she could survive. Maybe she could find more than safety. Maybe she could find friendship, trust, even something like happiness. Jack noticed her eyes drooping and stood quietly. He added another blanket around her shoulders and said softly, "Get some sleep. We'll face tomorrow when it comes." "You're safe here with me!" Elira closed her eyes, letting exhaustion pull her under. For the first time in days, she slept without fear, wrapped in warmth, with a human who cared. The snowstorm outside could rage as it pleased. Inside, there was peace. When she dreamed, it was of places far from the snow, of sun-warmed fields, of voices that did not betray, of hands that reached out to help rather than strike. And always in the corner of her mind she felt Jack's steady presence, a reminder that even in the coldest, harshest worlds, kindness could be found. The night passed slowly, the storm howling, yet Elira slept on. She didn't know what awaited her in the morning. Her people could return. Other dangers could appear, but for now, she was alive. And for now, she had a human who had chosen to care for her when no one else did. And in that small, warm room, abandoned in the snow, no longer meant alone, Elira woke to the soft crackle of the fire. The blankets were warm around her, but the pain in her body reminded her that the snowstorm had taken a toll. She stretched carefully, testing her legs. They were stiff but stronger than the day before. The warmth of the fire and the small meal Jack had given her had helped more than she realized. Jack was already busy around the small outpost. He moved quickly, checking equipment and inspecting the walls. His movements were calm, efficient and careful, as if he had done this 100 times before. When he noticed her watching, he gave a small smile. "Good morning," he said. "How are you feeling?" "Better," Elira replied, her voice soft. "My body still aches, but I think I can walk now." Jack nodded. "Good. We'll take it slow. First some more food, then a little exercise to get your blood moving. You need strength if you're going to survive out here. Elira looked around the room. It was small but practical. Shelves lined the walls, filled with tools, canned food, and other supplies. A small cot sat in the corner. It was simple, not luxurious, but it was safe and warm. She realized that she had never felt this level of comfort outside of her palace, and here it was offered freely, without expectation, without ceremony. As she ate, Jack introduced her to two other humans in the outpost, Emma Ross, a nurse with short blonde hair and a calm voice, and Ben Turner, a quiet technician who handled the machinery and power systems. They were wary at first, but Jack's calm presence reassured them. "You'll be safe here," Jack told Elira. "We've got supplies, heat, and communication systems that can call for help if needed. But for now, the storm is our biggest concern." Elira nodded. She wanted to ask questions about these humans, about their lives, about the world she was stranded on, but she felt shy. She had spent most of her life surrounded by people who expected obedience, respect, or fear. These humans treated her differently. They were curious, kind, and cautious, but not demanding. She felt a strange mixture of relief and uncertainty. Over the next few hours, Jack helped Elira move around the outpost. He showed her how to keep warm, how to move carefully over icy patches, and how to use basic tools to clear snow from vents and doorways. Elira was clumsy at first, but she learned quickly. Jack was patient, never mocking her mistakes, never rushing her. Every time she fell or struggled, he offered a steady hand, helping her regain balance. "You're stronger than you think," he said during one of their short walks outside the building. The snow was falling lightly now, but the wind still cut through her cloak. "You survived the storm last night. Most people would have frozen by now." Elira looked down at her hands, cold and red from the snow. I just wanted to live," she whispered. "I didn't know if anyone cared." Jack's eyes softened.
"I care," he said simply. "That's enough sometimes."
The words struck her more than she expected.
Elira had grown used to being abandoned, ignored, or betrayed. To hear someone say they cared without expectation, without obligation, was foreign. She felt a small spark of hope. Maybe there were people worth trusting. Maybe she could find strength in others, not just in herself. As the day passed, Elira learned more about life in the outpost. Emma showed her how to prepare simple meals and how to treat minor injuries. Ben explained the machinery that kept the heat and lights on. Jack continued to teach her survival skills, showing her how to read the weather, how to spot dangerous ice patches, and how to protect herself from predators that roamed the snow-covered plains. "You humans are strange," Elira said one afternoon watching Jack repair a broken generator. "You endure so much, and yet you smile. You help each other, even strangers." Jack laughed softly. "We don't always succeed, but we try. Out here, helping each other isn't just kindness. It's survival. If we don't make it." "But I guess that also makes us stubborn." Elira smiled faintly. "Stubborn? Yes." "I can see that. I like it." The bond between them grew quietly but steadily. Elira found herself watching Jack when he moved, listening to his calm voice and seeking his advice before acting. She was still cautious. Her people's betrayal had left scars, but she felt safer than she had in days. She realized that she was learning to trust again. One evening, the storm returned, stronger than before. The wind howled, and snow battered the building. Elira huddled by the fire, wrapped in blankets, while Jack checked the outer walls and vents. "The storm is worse than last night," he said through the door. "We'll need to reinforce the windows. I could use your help if you feel strong enough." Elira hesitated, then nodded. She wrapped herself in her warmest blanket and stepped outside. The cold hit her immediately, but she forced herself forward. Jack guided her to the first window, showing her how to secure the panels and seal cracks with tape and cloth. She worked carefully, following his instructions.
"Good," Jack said, giving her a small smile. "You're a quick learner." "Faster than some humans I know."
Elira felt a rush of pride. She had survived an ambush, a snowstorm, and the betrayal of her people. Now she was learning to survive here, with humans who treated her with respect. It was strange, almost impossible to believe, but she felt capable. When the work was done, they returned inside, cold and tired. Jack built the fire back up while Elira helped Emma prepare a simple meal. They ate in silence at first, the warmth of the fire and food comforting them. Then Jack spoke, breaking the quiet. "You've been through a lot," he said. "But you're handling it better than most would. You're stronger than you know, Elira." She looked down at her hands, then back at him. I don't know if I can ever go back," she admitted. "My people, they left me. They didn't care. And now I feel like I belong here. At least a little." "Belonging isn't about where you're from. It's about where people choose to stand by you. You have a choice now. You can decide who you trust, who you fight for, and who you care about. It doesn't matter where you came from." Elira felt a lump in her throat. She had never thought of life like that. Trust had always been conditional. Love had always been tied to duty or status. But here, with these humans, she felt a freedom she had never known. She felt hope. That night, as she lay on the cot near the fire, Elira thought about her past, about the palace and the soldiers, about the people who had abandoned her. And she thought about Jack, Emma, and Ben, about the warmth and kindness she had found in the snow. She realized that survival wasn't just about enduring the storm, it was about finding people who cared enough to stand with you. She drifted into a restless sleep, dreaming of snow-covered plains, warm fires, and voices that spoke not of duty or expectation, but of care and trust. The storm raged outside, but inside there was safety. Inside there was connection. Inside there was hope. Over the next few days, Elira grew stronger. She helped with chores, learned more about the outpost's technology, and practiced basic survival skills. She and Jack spent long hours talking, sharing stories and teaching each other small skills. She found herself laughing at his jokes, asking his advice, and quietly relying on him in ways she hadn't imagined. One afternoon, as they repaired a solar collector together, Elira paused to watch Jack work. The sun glinted off the snow, and she realized that she had not felt fear in a long time. She had felt pain, exhaustion, and betrayal. But now, for the first time, she felt something new. Trust. "Jack," she said quietly, I think I'm ready to face more than just the storm. I want to try surviving here, learning here. With you." Jack looked up, surprised but pleased. "I think you're ready too," he said. "And you don't have to do it alone. We're all here. We'll make it together." Elira smiled, a small, genuine smile that reached her eyes. For the first time, she felt like she belonged somewhere. Not because she was royalty, not because she was expected to survive, but because someone chose to care for her. And in that quiet outpost, abandoned in the snow, no longer meant alone. It meant finding strength, trust, and connection where she had least expected it. The days passed slowly but steadily. Elira grew stronger with each sunrise. She moved more confidently through the snow, helped with the outpost chores, and even learned to use simple tools to repair broken equipment. Jack and Emma watched her closely, impressed by how quickly she adapted. Even Ben, usually quiet and reserved, offered small compliments when she fixed a broken vent or cleared snow from the solar panels. Elira began to feel a sense of belonging she had never known. She was no longer just the princess abandoned in the snow, she was part of a small human community. The warmth of the fire, the shared meals, and the quiet conversations had built trust between her and the humans. She realized she relied on them as much as they relied on her presence. One morning, Jack noticed something unusual on the scanners. Small blips appeared on the monitor, moving closer through the snow. He frowned and called Elira and the others. "We have visitors," he said cautiously. "Probably a patrol or scouts. We need to prepare."
Elira's heart skipped a beat.
Patrols meant danger, and she had no idea what to expect. She had been abandoned once. She didn't want to be caught or left alone again. She looked at Jack, hoping he would guide her. "We'll be okay," he said firmly, noticing her fear. "Stay calm and follow instructions. You can help more than you think." Elira nodded, swallowing her anxiety. She had learned to trust Jack, and that trust gave her courage. Together, they checked the outpost's defenses. Jack assigned positions and explained how to watch the sensors, how to alert others if the patrol came too close, and how to block entry points. Elira absorbed every word, ready to do her part. As the blips grew closer, a cold wind whipped through the outpost. Snow began to fall faster, reducing visibility. Elira shivered, but stood firm. She helped reinforce the doors and windows with panels and tape, following Jack's instructions carefully. She realized that even small actions could make a difference. "Good," Jack said, glancing at her. "You're doing exactly what you need to do. Stay focused." Hours passed and the patrol arrived. Small alien ships hovered above the snow, scanning the area. Elira's heart pounded. But she followed Jack's plan. They used the outpost as equipment to hide their heat signatures and block communications. The alien scanners passed over the building without detecting them. Elira watched in awe as Jack and the humans moved with precision, each action deliberate and coordinated. She realized that humans, while not as advanced as her own people, were clever and resourceful. They used what they had in ways her enemies could not predict. She felt pride and admiration mixed with a growing bond of trust. Later, when the patrol left without finding them, Elira exhaled a long breath she didn't know she was holding. Jack smiled at her, relief in his eyes. "See," he said, "we made it. Teamwork, focus, and a little luck. That's all it takes out here." Elira nodded, feeling a surge of confidence. "Thank you for trusting me," she said quietly. I didn't know I could help so much." Jack placed a hand on her shoulder, steady and reassuring. "You've proven yourself. Strength isn't just about fighting. It's about thinking, learning, and acting when it matters. You have all of that." The incident strengthened Elira's resolve. She began to take a more active role in the outpost. She learned to repair broken machinery, monitor the sensors, and even plan basic defense strategies. Jack and the others guided her, but she began to act independently, gaining confidence with every success. One day, as Elira and Jack walked outside to check the solar panels, she spoke quietly. "Jack, why do you help me so much? I'm not your family, not your friend in the beginning, yet you didn't leave me." Jack shrugged, looking at the snowy horizon. "Because it's the right thing to do. You needed help, and someone should have been there. Besides, I like seeing people survive. It's rewarding." He smiled faintly. "You're not just surviving. You're growing stronger every day, and I'm glad I could be part of that." Elira felt warmth spread through her chest. No one had ever said such things to her with sincerity before. She realized that human care was different from the loyalty and duty she had known. It was chosen, not commanded. It was real. Days turned into a week. The snowstorm continued to rage outside, but inside the outpost, life moved forward. Elira and the humans worked together, laughed quietly during meals, and shared stories to pass the long hours. She began to see them as family, even if they were strangers from another world. Then, a new challenge arrived. The scanners detected a damaged human supply ship crashing nearby. Jack immediately organized a rescue team. Elira insisted on going despite the danger. She wanted to help, to contribute, to prove that she was capable. "Elira, it's dangerous," Jack warned. "We don't know what's waiting out there. Are you sure you want to come?" Elira squared her shoulders. "I can't just stay here. If someone is hurt, I need to help." Jack nodded, respecting her decision. Together with Emma and Ben, they moved through the snow toward the crash site. The wind howled and the snow fell heavily, But Elira kept pace, her determination stronger than the cold. When they reached the ship, they found it partially buried in snow. The hull was damaged and small fires burned along the edges. Inside, injured humans called for help. Elira didn't hesitate. She helped lift debris, carried supplies, and guided the injured to safety. Jack watched her, impressed by her courage and quick thinking. "You're amazing," he said quietly as they worked side by side. "I knew you were strong, but I didn't realize just how much until now." Elira felt a flush of pride. She had survived an ambush, a snowstorm, and abandonment. Now she was saving lives. She realized that strength was not just survival, it was action, courage, and the choice to help others even when it was difficult. The rescue took hours, but they succeeded. The injured were brought back to the outpost, treated and stabilized. Elira's hands were scraped and bruised, her body exhausted, but her heart felt light. She had contributed, proven herself, and earned the respect of her human companions. That night, as the snow continued to fall outside, Elira sat by the fire, cleaning her hands and reflecting on the day. Jack joined her, handing her a warm cup of tea. "You did well today," he said softly. "You saved lives. You're part of this team now, not just a guest." Elira smiled, warmth spreading through her chest. "Thank you, Jack. I feel like I belong here, like I finally have a place where I matter." Jack nodded. "You do, and don't forget it. We need each other out here. Strength comes in many forms, and you've shown all of them." Elira leaned back, letting the fire's warmth seep into her tired body. She realized that the storm outside, the cold, and the snow were no longer the only threats she faced. Her past, her people, and the unknown challenges ahead could be difficult. But with Jack, Emma, and Ben beside her, she felt ready. She had trust, courage, and a growing sense of purpose. As sleep approached, Elira felt a quiet determination settle in her heart. She would survive. She would protect those who helped her. And she would prove that even someone abandoned in the snow could become a force to be reckoned with. For the first time since the attack, Elira did not feel fear. She felt hope, courage, and a deep sense of connection. She had been abandoned once, but now she was part of something greater, something worth fighting for. And she knew that whatever the future held, she would face it with humans she trusted, and with a heart ready to protect and care for them as much as they cared for her. And in the frozen world, amidst the snow and wind, Elira discovered that strength was not just surviving storms. It was standing with others, facing danger together, and finding courage and trust and connection. The warning came during the quietest part of the night. Elira was helping Emma organize medical supplies when the alarm began to hum. It was low and steady, not loud, but it carried urgency. Jack was already moving before the sound finished spreading through the outpost. "Long-range scan," Ben said from the console. His voice was tense. "Multiple ships! Not human." Elira froze. She already knew what that meant. Her people had found her. Jack looked at the screen, his jaw tightening. The symbols were unfamiliar to the humans, but Elira recognized them instantly. The sleek shapes, the tight formation, the cold precision. This was not a rescue team. This was a recovery force. "They're here for me," Elira said quietly. Emma turned to her. "Are you sure?"
Elira nodded.
"Yes. They don't come in groups like that unless they expect resistance." The room fell silent. The fire crackled softly, but the warmth felt distant now. Jack stepped closer to Elira, lowering his voice. "Do they know you're alive?" "They will," she replied. "If they are scanning this area, they will find signs of me. Heat, movement, energy use. It's only a matter of time." Jack exhaled slowly. "Then we prepare." Elira looked at him. "Jack, they won't treat you kindly. Humans are not seen as equals by my people. If they know you helped me, they may punish you." Jack met her eyes without hesitation. "You're here. That's what matters. We don't hand people over just because someone demands it. Those words struck her harder than any weapon ever had. For the first time, someone was choosing her without fear. The ships descended hours later, hovering above the frozen plain like dark shadows against the sky. Beams of blue light swept across the snow. The outpost trembled as the ground vibrated. Elira stood near the center of the room, her hands clenched. Memories rushed back. Cold halls, sharp voices, orders spoken without care. "Princess Elira!" a voice echoed through the outpost speakers. It was calm, controlled, and distant. "You are ordered to present yourself immediately. You have been located." "Resistance will not be tolerated," Emma swallowed. Ben looked pale. Jack did not move. Elira took a step forward. Jack placed a hand on her arm. "Wait." She looked at him. "This is my responsibility. It's ours now," he said. "You're not alone anymore."
Another message came through.
"Humans inside the structure. Step away from the royal asset. Interference will be remembered." Elira felt anger rise in her chest. Asset. That was all she had ever been to them. She turned toward the speaker. "I am not an asset," she said clearly. "I am alive because these humans chose to help me when you abandoned me." There was a pause. Then laughter, cold and sharp. "You were presumed lost. Resources were withdrawn. That is the cost of failure." Elira's hands shook. Jack noticed and stepped closer, standing beside her, not in front of her. "Equal. Failure?" she said. "You left me wounded in a storm." "You didn't even check. Your survival was unlikely," the voice replied. "Your presence now is an inconvenience." The words cut deep, but instead of breaking her, they hardened her resolve. At the patched walls, the worn tools, the humans who had shared food, warmth, and risk with her. She thought of the night Jack carried her out of the snow, of Emma treating her wounds, of Ben staying awake to keep the power running. She straightened. "I will not return with you," she said. Silence followed. "Repeat," the voice demanded. "I choose to stay," Elira said. "These people showed me care without command. Respect without fear. I will not go back to a place where I am only valued when useful." The response was immediate. "Then you forfeit protection. The humans will be removed." The lights flickered. The outpost shook as energy weapons powered up outside. Jack moved fast. "Ben, shield, cycle. Emma, fallback plan. They will destroy this place." "Maybe," Jack said, "but they won't take you without knowing who they're fighting." Elira realized then what humans truly were. Not the strongest, not the most advanced, but unwilling to bend when something mattered. The first blast struck the outer wall, shaking snow from the ceiling. Alarms blared. Elira acted without thinking. She ran to the console beside Ben. "Their scans rely on stable energy reflection," she said. "If we overload the thermal vents in a pattern, it will confuse their targeting." Ben blinked. "Can you do that?" "Yes," she said. "But it will expose my presence fully." Jack didn't hesitate. "Do it!" Elira moved fast, fingers flying across unfamiliar controls guided by instinct and memory. Heat surged through the outpost vents, blasting into the storm in irregular waves. Outside, the ships faltered, beams scattering wide. One of the ships pulled back suddenly, nearly colliding with another. Emma let out a breath. "It worked!" But Elira knew it was temporary. Another message came through, this time sharper, angrier. "You align yourself with primitives," the voice said. "You shame your bloodline." Elira stepped forward again. "No! I redefine it." The ships adjusted formation. Weapons charged again. Jack looked at her. "If this goes bad, you can still leave. We'll create a distraction." Elira shook her head. I will not abandon you the way I was abandoned. The words felt powerful. Final! The next blast never came. Instead, one of the ships broke formation. Then another. Confusion rippled through the fleet. Ben stared at the screen.
They're receiving a transmission. Internal.
Elira frowned. That shouldn't be possible. Then the voice returned. Different now. Quieter! Stand down! Command has changed priorities. The ships began to rise. Elira felt her knees weaken. What? Your testimony has been recorded, the voice continued. Higher authority will review. Further action postponed. The fleet pulled back, disappearing into the clouds, leaving only silence and falling snow behind. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Emma laughed softly, shaky but real. Well, that was something. Jack turned to Elira. Are you okay? Elira nodded slowly. Tears filled her eyes, but she did not wipe them away. I chose, she said. For the first time, I chose. Jack smiled. Not wide, not proud.
Just warm. You did. That night, the outpost felt different.
Quieter, heavier, but also stronger. Elira sat by the fire long after the others slept. The past still hurt. The future was uncertain. But she knew one thing clearly now. She was no longer a princess waiting to be claimed. She was someone who had been seen. And in the frozen silence outside, the storm did not feel so endless anymore. Dot! The storm had passed! The sky was gray, but the snow no longer fell in sheets. Instead, soft flakes drifted lazily to the frozen ground. The outpost was quiet. Jack, Emma, and Ben moved carefully, checking equipment, repairing damage, and ensuring the building could withstand future storms. Elira watched them, her hands still sore from the recent conflict, but her heart lighter than it had been in weeks. She walked outside briefly, feeling the crisp air on her face. The snow crunched under her boots. She remembered the attack, the fleet, the cold winds, and the fear she had felt. But she also remembered Jack's steady hands, Emma's soft voice, and Ben's quiet determination. They had been there for her when no one else would. Elira! Jack called from the outpost doorway. Come help with the last repairs! She turned and nodded, walking back inside. Together they reinforced the walls, checked the sensors, and made small improvements to the heating system. It was ordinary work, but it felt meaningful. Elira realized that survival was not only about fighting or escaping. It was about building, protecting, and caring for the people around her. After the repairs, they sat by the fire, exhausted but satisfied. Elira took a deep breath and spoke. I never thought I would feel at home, she said quietly. Not after everything. But here... With you, I do. Jack looked at her. You earned it, Elira. Not because of who you are, but because of who you are becoming, she smiled faintly. I'm learning. For several days, Elira worked alongside the humans. She helped repair machinery, organize supplies, and even patrol the perimeter during the day. Her confidence grew, and the humans came to rely on her as much as she relied on them. She learned their ways, their humor, and their simple kindnesses. She realized that being royalty had never taught her this, the value of trust earned, not demanded. One morning, while checking the sensors, Elira noticed a signal approaching. It was small and slow, almost hesitant. Jack and Ben rushed to the console to analyze it. Unknown ship, Ben said. Not hostile, but scanning the area. Elira's heart sank. Her people could not leave her alone for long. She braced herself. The ship landed on a small clearing near the outpost. A single figure disembarked, moving slowly through the snow. Elira's blood ran cold as she recognized the uniform. It was one of her people, a messenger sent by the Royal Council. Jack stepped beside her. Whatever happens, we face it together, he said. Elira nodded, feeling the strength she had gained over the past weeks. She walked toward the messenger as he approached, her posture steady. Princess Elira, the man said, bowing slightly. You are ordered to return immediately, the council insists. Resistance will have consequences. Hellara stood tall, her gaze calm. I will not return. Not while my people abandon me. Not while they disrespect life and choice. I belong here with humans who have saved me, taught me, and trusted me. The messenger's face was blank, as if he had expected compliance. He did not speak.
Finally, he turned and signaled for his ship. Jack stepped forward not to confront, but to support.
She chooses her own path, he said. The messenger paused, then nodded curtly. Command will be informed. No further action will be taken for now. Elira exhaled.
Relief washed over her, but she remained alert. She had faced fear, betrayal, storms, and enemy fleets.
She knew peace was temporary, but it was hers to enjoy now. In the following weeks, Elira helped the humans improve the outpost. They reinforced the walls, upgraded the sensors, and prepared for future storms. She worked tirelessly, not as a princess, but as a trusted member of the team. Jack, Emma, and Ben relied on her judgment and strength. She relied on their guidance and friendship. Together, they became a family. One evening, after a long day, Elira and Jack sat outside watching the snow drift gently over the frozen plains. The sky was clear, and the sun touched the horizon, turning the snow gold and pink. Jack, she said softly, I never imagined I could feel this, safe, valued, part of something real. Jack looked at her and smiled. You deserve it, Elira. More than anyone I've met. You fought for it, and you chose it. She turned to him, eyes shining.
I chose you!
Jack's hand brushed hers lightly. And we chose you. We never abandoned you. They sat in silence, watching the snow. Elira realized that for the first time she felt entirely in control of her destiny. She had survived betrayal, danger, and the coldest storm. She had made allies, friends, and perhaps even something deeper. In the weeks that followed, Elira worked to build communication links with nearby human colonies. She acted as a bridge, helping them understand each other, sharing knowledge, and learning new skills. She no longer feared being abandoned because she understood that trust could be built, care could be chosen, and bonds could be formed across worlds. One day, while teaching Emma and Ben to reinforce outpost walls, Elira paused to look at the horizon. She remembered the first snowstorm the moment she collapsed, and the despair that had filled her heart. Now, that memory felt distant. She had grown stronger, braver, and wiser. She had learned the value of courage, kindness, and choice. Elira, Jack said, come on. The snow will settle soon. We can rest a bit. She smiled, following him back inside. As they entered the warmth of the fire-lit room, she realized she had never felt more at peace. She was no longer the abandoned princess. She was someone who had faced fear, danger, and betrayal, and had chosen her own path. That night, she sat by the fire, wrapped in blankets, listening to the quiet hum of the outpost. Jack and the others worked on small repairs around her, but she felt no fear, no loneliness. She had found connection, trust, and a home. She had chosen life, not just survival. And as the stars began to shine above the snow-covered plains, Elira made a silent promise to herself. She would protect these humans who had chosen to protect her. She would help them, fight for them, and stand beside them no matter what came next. She had been abandoned once, but she would never abandon those who cared for her. The frozen world outside could remain harsh, cold, and dangerous. Storms could come, enemies could appear, and her people could return. But inside the outpost, warmth, friendship, and trust had taken root. Elira knew that whatever the future held, she would face it with courage, and she would do so with humans who had shown her what it truly meant to belong. For the first time in her life, Elira smiled freely. She had survived. She had chosen. She had found a home. And in the quiet of the snow-covered plains, the princess was no longer abandoned. She was alive, strong, and ready to face the future with humans she could trust, and a heart open to hope, courage, and the bonds of life.